record gas prices, putting a damper on 4th of July travel. And the president, instead of taking responsibility, has got a brand new target. Gas stations. Biden tweeted, quote, "My message to the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for the product, and do it now." Washington Post owner and billionaire businessman Jeff Bezos isn't buying it, though, tweeting, quote, "Ouch, inflation is far too important a problem for the White House to keep making statements like this. It's either straight ahead misdirection or a deep misunderstanding of basic market dynamics." And like always, the White House is coming to Biden's defense because he talks just like everybody else.
I think that anybody that knows President Biden knows he's plain spoken, and he tells you exactly what he's thinking, and in terms that everybody can understand. So I think we obviously take great exception at the idea that this is somehow misdirection. The president is speaking honestly with the American people about what he's trying to do to bring the prices down. But he was honest even before the invasion, Mike, about the fact that it would not be cost-free. Certainly not cost-free to President Putin, but it wouldn't be cost-free to the American people to stand up for democracy, just stand up for Ukraine's ability to defend.
Okay, and Bezos may have Biden's back, but I'm sorry, or he may blast Biden, but it's China that has Biden's back. China state media tweeted he finally realized that capitalism is all about exploitation. He didn't believe this before. Okay, guys, I don't even know where to start on this one. Everywhere. Okay, so President Biden likes to blame Putin for the gas prices. Now he's blaming the gas station owners. But correct me if I'm wrong. This is a president who, on the campaign trail, said he was going to put the fossil fuel industry out of business. Day one of his presidency, he shut down production of the Keystone XL pipeline. And then he went on to limit permits around the country. So now he wants to blame the gas stations, but doesn't he bear some of this responsibility? Leo, I'll start with you.
Please, thank you. Yes, he does. You know what? It's insulting to all of us and to America. He's dishonest. He's not taking credit for his failures. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline. He has basically destroyed the economy because he sold his soul to become president to the progressive left. He's doubled down on punishing Americans at all costs. He's not suffering, but American people are suffering. He put the American people last. He put the Democratic Party first, and that's why we're suffering.
Okay, and, you know, in his message, he's acting as if gas station owners, you know, have the leeway to bring down prices. But really, we know that a lot of this has to do with crude oil prices. That's what sets the prices at the pump overall. So, Tommy, really, if the president really wanted to do something, what more could he do?
Let's just imagine for a moment that gas prices weren't already soaring before Ukraine and Russia and that whole debacle. Let's just pretend that that was true. Let's just pretend that was the case.
Just for a moment.
So we want to call it Putin's price tag. Well, if this president was any bit of a leader whatsoever, what he would have done is, listen, now we're facing this global issue, Ukraine, Russia, prices are going to go up. So I know I said I was going to shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. I know I was going to put the fossil industry out of business. But what I'm going to do now, because I care about the American people, I'm going to reverse course, at least for a while. I'm going to open up domestic production and drilling. I'm going to reopen Keystone XL because I'm going to be a true leader and I'm going to ease the prices for the American people. But he won't do that because it's a blame game. He blames the airlines. He blames the gas station owners. Pretty soon he's going to blame the farmers and the ranchers, who are, by the way, not making anything.
He's already blaming them. He talks about the cattle prices, the beef prices. Listen, trot out the guy who tried to tell me what a great partner the Taliban is 6 months ago to tell me that the Wawa and the Quick Trip are the reason why I can't afford food anymore or gas. I mean, this is ridiculous. Jeff Bezos hit the nail on the head. This is an inflationary problem, not a gas problem. When you lose somebody who's in charge of one of your loudest printed advocates, you're doing something wrong. I'm not an economist, but I don't have to be to see China sit there and roll out praise for steering away from capitalism as a red flag for probably, I mean, what's happened here? Biden got what he wanted. He got what he promised. He said he was going to put the squeeze on the oil and gas market. He did it. He kept investment out of it. He's done a lot of things to make it difficult for us to continue production at the rate we were at. And one of the biggest fallacies they say is they go, oh, Well, production is where it was in 2020. That's cool because everybody had their cars parked in 2020. So production probably needs to go up. Not to mention there's a surge in demand in everything we do because they had their cars parked in 2020. Oil and gas is going to be surged as well.
And can you imagine, though, China is lauding Biden and his policies? I mean, is that a good look for the White House?
No, it's embarrassing. And I'll tell you right now, it's embarrassing because of the Hunter Biden connection to China and everything surrounding China. But when John Kirby goes on national TV and say that Joe Biden is a plain-spoken person, everything that comes out of Joe Biden's mouth is scripted by his teammates.
Leo.
The teleprompter is plain spoken, Leo.
That's right, the teleprompter.
Listen, there's a scene in I think, Rush Hour 2 where Chris Tucker looks at Jackie Chan and goes, nobody understands the words that's coming out of your mouth. That's Joe Biden being plain spoken.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
But I want to speak to this, too, because you brought up a good point. I think everybody that has immigrated to this country from nations like Cuba, Venezuela, when you start hearing China, a communist nation, praising our president, it should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And when you talk to people that have fled those countries like Cuba or Venezuela, what they'll tell you is it started with price controls. It started with the government saying, you know what, all that private industry,
industry.
That's your enemy, everybody. Private industry is your enemy. The government will solve your problems. And look around. Who is promising to solve our problems with more government? Joe Biden and Joe Biden's teleprompter.
So Vice President Kamala Harris is also weighing in on gas prices. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
What we need to do domestically, what we need to do to bring down the cost of gas. Well, right? Right?
I seen a meme the other day that said me Googling online how to make gas at home. Okay?
Ooh, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Hilarious. Yeah, she's again laughing it off, but it is no laughing matter. I mean, you know, it is costing $100 for people to fill up their tanks.
And you know what? The sad part about that, you see a person in the second most powerful position in the world who was selected for identity politics, not qualified, not competent. She has a defense mechanism by cackling and laughing when she doesn't understand the issue at hand. Maybe one thing she's done successfully.
She looks like a prisoner of war. You know, when they have to get in front of the camera and go, they're treating me really good. You know, but that's what she looks like. And I believe it's because she's completely unprepared. Now, whether or not that's her fault or the Biden team's fault, or I don't know. I'm not in the White House. I almost feel bad for her.
No, not me.
I feel
the country.
Hear me out. She was best when she was a bulldog in the Senate, sitting up there on the dais, grilling partisanly and on the attack mode. And I don't know if she's choosing not to do that for the Biden administration or if they're not letting her do it. But by her not filling that role for the Biden administration, she's rendered ineffective. And we already see how ineffective the Biden team is at messaging. There's no good messaging coming when she's not being that on the attack against their opposition. She should be out there attacking their opposition, letting Biden be that, you know, Uncle Joe figure he's supposed to be. And their communications team is the greatest failure since whatever the latest war is they've screwed up.
But, you know, Tommy, the average American is really the one that's getting hurt here because, you know, it's not like people are getting paid extra to keep up with these gas prices.
And it seems as though they don't care.
Yeah.
When the American people are hearing them continuing to blame everybody but themselves and not doing anything to change course, as I said, they could change course. They could do something. They could at least make the effort, but they're not. It's the finger-pointing blame game, and that should be a slap in the face and an insult to every American on both sides of the political divide because we all have to fill up. We all have to get groceries.
They see through the blame.
And it just seems as though they quite frankly don't care. And Kamala going on all these photo opportunities and laughing to try to make herself seem hip and cool, not a good look.
Yeah, doesn't help.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.